It gives me great pleasure to now hand over to Professor Russell Botman, Rector and Vice-Chancellor of Stellenbosch University. And we're not going to waste any time on formal introductions. I think we all know each other already after these 2 days. So it gives me great pleasure to extend the microphone to him to welcome and contextualize. Thanks, Russ.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Antoinette, and thank you everyone. Afternoon. Welcome here. Now, I must tell you, we live in very exciting times, and this is one of the very exciting moments in exciting times. And it's important because we are here with universities across the world coming together to make an impact on society, making that commitment to look at the sciences for a particular important reason. If ever there was an argument against the notion of the university as ivory tower, then our presence here is it. The partners in our new networks, Hope Africa and Hope International, share a strong conviction that universities should work together to change the world. And it is interesting, as we had this debate among the vice-chancellors and all the leaders of these institutions, we discovered that this doesn't come by itself. It is an argument that you must make and that you must be clear about, and that you must have enough understanding of the depths of it, and that we know enough about the difficult terrains and debates around that. So what we know is that we need to secure that universities engage with society, tackle the serious challenges facing our people, not as organizations of development, but as the knowledge-based institutions that we are, through our core academic activities, research, teaching and learning, as well as community interaction. Now, this is what emerged in the discussions in the run-up to today's launch. The journey has also been an exciting one, and I'd like to tell you something about the journey that brought us to where we are now. Now, you will know that at Stellenbosch, in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, we did a lot of work with a number of universities on the continent to begin to ask, how do we support each other to build the next generation of academics? And we've been very successful with that. And what out of that grew is the building of institutional partnerships. And this is a very important part of our learnings in the HOPE project that we had at Stellenbosch, that we developed with other people, and we're taking genuine partnership to a next level. So first, let me tell you something about the HOPE at Africa. Now, for some time now, we've been working together at various universities on the continent to strengthen African scholarship. In October last year, some of these partners got together and identified new challenges. And Africa has seen good economic growth of late, but this must be translated into broad-based human development. And what we have identified as one of the key areas that will challenge us is the area of teacher education. According to UNESCO, Africa needs 2 million new teachers by 2015. Now, you must know it is actually around the corner. It is, and there is also an urgent need to provide training for millions of current teachers who are either under or unqualified. Now, you've seen that today in the news, in South Africa's news, that the Minister of Education also announced yesterday that we have 10,000 teachers in our schools that are not qualified, well qualified for the teaching environment in which they find themselves. So it's also very topical in our conversations in South Africa. Clearly, universities should play a key role in improving the training and ongoing professional development of teachers, but conventional brick and mortar approaches are not good enough anymore. We need to use technology to extend the reach and the richness of learning and teaching beyond the physical classroom. And this is exactly the kind of challenge that Hope at Africa will be tackling. In August last year, the founding partners signed a letter of intent, and we will be combining our telematic platforms across the continent to reach out to teachers wherever they are. New ICT technologies are ideally suited to the task, and you know, we live in the information age, which has changed the way that we access and share and interact with knowledge. In the 21st century, students learn also in new ways, and the very concept of student is changing as lifelong learning takes root. This must have an impact on us as knowledge providers. It is up to us to package and deliver the learning experience, and this is important. It's not the teaching experience, but the learning experience that must be accessible and without sacrificing quality. There's a global movement towards e-learning, and there is no reason why we in Africa should not be part of this revolution. We have existing expertise here at Stellenbosch and at our partners institutions, the Universities of Botswana, Dar es Salaam, Makerere, Malawi, Nairobi, and Namibia. And that's just for starters. As the network gathers momentum, we anticipate that more universities will come aboard. If we pool our resources and learn from each other, we can truly make a difference not only in teacher training, but in many other fields as well. Collaboration is an important way forward in a globalized village, among ourselves here in Africa and with partners elsewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings me to our second network being launched here today, Hope International. I must tell you, it is actually very important that we have this meeting here at the, what shall we call it, what is it called, the Peter Wallenberg Center. And it is important because it is an important connection between us and Sweden that had grown in this building, and that is actually also growing in the way we look at the role and importance of higher education in the 21st century. In August 2012, I was invited to Sweden to speak at Dalarna University. They wanted to learn more about Stellenbosch University's HOPE project because, like us, they were also keen to tackle societal challenges. We met also with some other partners that they have there. The need for sustainable and equitable human development knows no boundaries. And this is something that, that is now taking higher education to a new level. And it is especially important when we are all, as Marita Hilliges, the Vice Chancellor of Dalarna, said yesterday, since we are all just villages in one big global village. That's where the idea of Hope International was born. Last year, Dalarna visited us at Stellenbosch, and a memorandum of understanding was drawn up. Other Swedish universities also supported it, Göteborg, Linnaeus, and Malmö. And here we are today launching Hope International. We said the network would be open and that we want other universities to join, and that we hope that other universities make a commitment to science that makes a difference in this global village. Together we want to contribute to global developmental goals. We want to have joint research projects, and we said we would use ICT-based communication for learning and collaboration. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm particularly pleased that we are launching Hope at Africa and Hope International together, because they actually belong together, but we are going to first seek the synergies between the two as we go forward. And as we harness the synergies between the two, we hope to gain more traction for the idea of a pedagogy of hope functioning in a global context. So this is an historic occasion, ladies and gentlemen. Universities in the global south and north taking hands for human development everywhere. And it is not just a talk shop. There are concrete steps. We agreed to have bi-monthly meetings between the vice-chancellors in both networks using video conferencing. In between, there will be working groups preparing inputs and taking action going forward, reporting to the bi-monthly meeting. Focusing on crucial areas is an important start for us. We're looking at the question of what is the difficult question that Leslie is dealing with most of his life, the global pedagogies in higher education. What is actually happening? How do we learn from this? How do we work with it? And how do we get students to do comparative studies about what is going on in the global pedagogies in higher education? And secondly, the teacher education and professional development question. There's a lot that we can learn from each other, that the successes and the benchmarkings that we can work with, we're looking forward to. And then the third one is the local classroom. The classroom that has a global reach, but is rooted in many different localities. Here and in Europe, here and in other parts of the continent, then begin to see how do we create such a classroom, and where do we find traction, and where are the champions that would be willing and able to become part of a local classroom. Future studies is also an important thing that we have identified as something that we want to look at. How do we see the different scenarios on this continent? How do we see it in Europe, and especially how our Swedish partners can help us understand these scenarios as they see it, and how it compares to the way we see the scenarios on this continent. Now, the first conference on the global classroom is already taking place next week here at Stellenbosch. And it is very important because the learnings that will come out of that will be reported back in the bi-monthly meetings, and we'll begin to see how do we give traction and strengthen and build it. Our mission is one of hope, because we refuse to accept the reality that we see, the reality that is coming to us. We actually want to go to a future that belongs to a next generation of academics and of students. We refuse to abandon the next generation to despair. Many of them face the bleak prospect of a future that is no different to their past or to their present. We can make a difference using our work in unlocking and sharing and applying knowledge. Now, that is a goal that will enrich our work with a deeper sense of meaning and purpose. This has been our experience here at Stellenbosch University as we work through the many catalytic actions of the Hope Project. Our pedagogy of hope has been the proverbial tide that lifting all the boats, and now a whole fleet is sailing around us, from Stellenbosch to Gaborone, Lilongwe, to Dar es Salaam, Kampala, to Nairobi, Windhoek to Stockholm and beyond. To all our ships and to all the captains of the ships who are here, who came for this very important discussion and commitment, want to say thank you for coming on board. May the voyage of discovery that we are embarking on be greatly rewarding and lead to major significance of universities that make a specific commitment to the villages that require that commitment now. Now, not just, and I think it is not just to our institutions that this will be important, as people will realize in time that we did it not for ourselves, not for our institutions, not just for our subjects, but for the use and the importance and the role that our subjects can play in creating a world that can cross the high seas of the knowledge economy. Now, I thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Professor Botman. While Professor Botman was speaking, we actually demonstrated live the global classroom. It came up on the screen. You could see him and me currently. So that is broadcasting live at the moment via Google Hangouts. And what we've done at the bottom, if you look at the bottom of the screen, thanks, Lizanne, those are all the placeholders for possible participants. So we've created a profile for the University of Malawi. And you could see that University of Malawi kept on muting and unmuting as within any conversation, not you, sir, but as somebody that was logged in on your behalf. And we will also use this technology shortly to cross over to the University of Botswana to actually bring in somebody live to demonstrate the concept of the global classroom through our technology platform. But before that, it gives me great... Oh, they waved. Thank you. So they can hear us. We can't hear them at the moment because we've muted them. But because we just would like to give Professor Faku, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Botswana, and I would say very good friend of Stellenbosch University, to give some introductory remarks on Hope at Africa, because he was also one of the founding members of Hope at Africa. Thanks, Professor Faku.
I hope that my brief talk will give all of us hope. Distinguished and illustrious ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to be afforded the opportunity to offer a few words as I attempt to show my commitment and dedication to the Hope Project. Last October, on the 31st, several of us came to Stellenbosch, and at the end of our discussions, we wrote a short letter of intent based on the notion of collaboration. On the 21st of February 2014, a delegation from Stellenbosch, led by Professor Russell Botman, visited the University of Botswana, and we continued in that path. At that occasion, I brought to their attention the three gifts that we have. The first of which is the gift of life. And I challenged participants to think or reflect about why we are given this life. We never asked for it. We just got it. We didn't even earn it. We just got it. Now it is our job to make meaning out of this life and to give ourselves and others hope in this life. In this life, if we are to live it meaningfully, we need the second gift, which is the gift of health. We need to enjoy a good measure of health in order to enjoy our life. Otherwise, we could be suffering and in pain. So a good measure of health is essential for us to enjoy our life. The third gift is the gift that has brought us here together today. And that is the gift of friendship and the gift of fellowship. This is what we are doing. Now, we use fancy words like collaboration. It is essentially friendship and fellowship. Why do we do this? Well, we believe that we can make a difference in our own lives and in the lives of others less fortunate. We believe we can make an impact in our immediate communities. We can do so if we enjoy the gift of friendship and collaboration, the gift of fellowship that enables us to focus on how we can work together to promote human development, to use telematic platform to extend the reach and the riches of all that we know. We have skills, we have competencies, we have talents, we have professions that we can use in the community for its benefit. We also want to recognize the need to promote professional development, first of ourselves. This morning, I was just mentioning the need for a dip in the teaching source, or baptism in pedagogy, as somebody called it. We need to recognize and acknowledge that as university teachers, we are ill-prepared to teach anyone. That the first thing we need to recognize is that we do not have teaching certificates. We do not have qualifications to teach, and we must start with ourselves. And therefore, university teachers need a dip in pedagogy before we reach out to the school teachers, that we must, using the telematic platform and other technologies, reach out and touch. We must create the future together, because we have come to understand that if we think about global problems, in our local contexts, we are likely to contribute to solving issues that are challenges to the whole world. We believe we can give hope for Africa and hope for the world only if we work together. I have argued that when we do that, even the donor communities, the ever-growing community of young entrepreneurs who have grown to become billionaires, who do not actually know what to do with the billions once mortality sets in. They want to be associated with institutions of excellence that through their research and service to the community they can associate with. And they are prepared, as we have seen in this building, to donate something meaningful for the sake of advancing humanity. So I'm very pleased, ladies and gentlemen, that I have been given this opportunity to say that our universities in the region, a select few, have this wonderful opportunity to show to many others what we can do by adopting the spirit of hope. I hope you hope with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Farker, for your words. We are now going to attempt the live crossover to the University of Botswana, where Dr. Sibudubudu will be able to say a few words on behalf of the university. And I've also said I've invited Professor Farker, if he would like to interact with his colleagues at the University of Botswana, to do that as well. So welcome. Great, you are live, so you will be able to give us some words of wisdom from the University of Botswana. There we go. We're just sorting out the technology. I know they can hear us. Would you like to start speaking? They are starting to speak, but we just have to get their microphone switched on. There we go. There we go. Our colleagues are communicating with them at the back. And while we're waiting for them, I would love to acknowledge our colleagues, Luzanne, Henny, the whole team at the back for making this possible. There we go. I hear something.
Yes.
Ah, there we go.
Can you hear us?
Yes, wonderful. Please go ahead.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Hi, we can hear you
Oh, thank
clearly.
you very much. Okay. My name is University of Botswana. With me here on my right, I'm with Mr. Salaam. We are at the University of Botswana in block 247, and we are happy to be connected to you this website. And we'll be listening to Professor Botman and our Vice Chancellor, Professor Thabo, talking about the project Hope International, and something that we are very much excited about, Botswana, because to us it's a new project, and therefore we feel that there's a need for us, as Professor Botman and Professor Thabo were saying earlier, for us to collaborate for the betterment of our own institutions. And therefore we tend to think that this is an exciting project that will make us, as the University of Botswana, be part of it to be relevant, and therefore we are very much excited about it. And as we are speaking right now with our Vice Chancellor at Stellenbosch right now, we feel that we are learning as we go on, because at the end of the day, the intention of this project is to improve human development using ICT technology, and we are very much committed to this project at the University of Botswana.
Thank you very much for that input. Are there any questions from the audience, maybe from Professor Faku for your colleagues?
Should I stand up?
Yes, please do.
Okay, David, I think you can tell our audience here in Stellenbosch how we have. Oh,
Again, for Ms. Maher?
yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I think you should tell our audience here in Stellenbosch what we have been doing in the University of Botswana, going around the faculties to galvanize everyone and to identify enthusiastic and passionate colleagues who can help kickstart the effort at our university. Thank you.
Okay. At the University of Botswana, I think, as I said earlier, we are very much excited. The university management, led by the Vice Chancellor, has been holding faculty meetings across the university to try to share with them about the prospects of the whole project and what we can achieve as a university. And I think from the meetings that we have had so far, colleagues are quite excited about this project because it can make a difference. It can make our university relevant to the society that we are living in. Because at the end of the day, our intention is to try to transform the lives of the people that we are living in, the lives of the that we find ourselves in. So we tend to think that on the ground here, our colleagues are quite excited about it.
Excellent, wonderful. Thank you so much for that live crossover. You can see their pictures back left-hand corner. And what we also have is another classroom at the University of Botswana, where there's actually other participants sitting also at the University of Botswana, and they're also taking part in the broadcast, just to demonstrate the concept of bringing in a variety of partners all around the world through this technology and participating, collaborating.
Yes, I can see Dr. Morolong and Spoon Mafute.
Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, with that, we're going to move along with the program. Thank you very much, Professor Faku. Thanks also to the colleagues at the University of Botswana. I'm now going to hand over to Professor Marita Hilliges, Vice-Chancellor of Dar University, who's also the coordinator of the Hope International project. Their university is the coordinator, for some welcoming remarks and remarks on Hope International. Thank you, Marita.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for inviting us here into this wonderful place, to this wonderful country in this wonderful university. The HOPE project has played an important role in the transformation of Stellenbosch University. I know I can speak for my Swedish colleagues when I say how impressed and inspired we are by the work that is being done here. In the face of what I know, it was originally considerable opposition, but you have managed to change the focus of both education and research towards commitment to major societal challenges. The example of Stellenbosch University is an inspiring one. Not only is the entire program based on hope, it really has inspired hope in us. In our part of the world, hope of this kind can sometimes seem to be in a short supply. As universities, we are learning organizations in every respect. And what we want to do through Hope International is to carry on learning together. On the basis of your example, we want to learn how to get better at learning together, and better to learn together with our communities, to formulate, address our local and global challenges. And what we have confirmed during the inspiring meetings we have had here with our African partners is how similar our concerns are. Even though we have very different starting points in Africa and in the Scandinavian North, where we live, we all have major climate issues, problems with youth unemployment, health problems, and so on. And we need to realize that we live in the same global village. We need to understand it better and to change it for the better. As academics, we know a lot about our societies. What we want to do through Hope International is to use that knowledge to actively develop our societies. Our knowledge and our learning are increasingly excellent. Now we want to make them increasingly significant. The HOPE project in South Africa has shown us that it is possible and that the paths forward need to be trod in close partnership with our communities. I represent a group of Swedish universities that have been impressed and inspired by the HOPE project. Together with you, we aim to form a stable and sustainable network in Hope International. 4 of these universities were able to be present here today, those in Gothenburg and Malmö, as well as Linnaeus University and my own institution in Dalarna. One concrete example of how we can further sustainable collaboration between the continents is the Global Classroom project that is meeting here next week. It will connect students and staff at Stellenbosch and Malmö universities, as well as universities in Canada and Australia, by using modern digital technologies. Students at my own university in Dalarna in Sweden have been working together for several years with master students in Botswana University in a course on African literature, also using real-time collaboration in a virtual classroom on the internet. What better ways of bringing understanding between people and creating sustainable learning environments could there be? What better ways of letting young people begin to understand the similarities and the differences in our global village? what better way to inspire hope in an entire generation? I want to thank you for your generosity in sharing your experiences here at Stellenbosch and sharing your way of leading science into society. I hope and believe that launching Hope International here today, we will be launching a structure that will continue to inspire university faculty, staff and students to work closer with their communities for generations to come. And that gives me, at least, a great deal of hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marita. Now the floor is open for some questions, either on Hope at Africa, Hope International, the concept of the global classroom, or anything in particular you want to address to one of the people you've heard speaking here this afternoon. There is a roving microphone, so we know you can talk loudly, but it's just important for our broadcast going out that you do use the roving microphone. So I would like to open up the floor for any questions or comments. Hi, Mariana. Professor Visser.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether this is an unreasonable question, but maybe I'll direct the question to all the vice chancellors here or anybody else who's got the information. That is, while the various speakers were speaking, I was thinking, how far ahead have they been doing their provisional planning, their provisional strategies, 5 years, 10 years, and what would they say are the, major first actions coming out from that? So I think I'd like Ms. Botman to answer, but also...
Professor Botman, let me just get the microphone.
Thank you very much, Mariana. At our different institutions, we have different horizons for our own planning. As you know, we're looking at a vision for 2030 at Stellenbosch, but a planning horizon for 2018. And the other universities like Malmo is 2020, etc. And we have to continue this bi-monthly conversation to sort out precisely how do we secure that there's a synergy between what each institution wants to do and what the value that these networks can add to that planning. So we have actually, I must say, from where we were, we only had letters of intent and memorandum of understandings up to now. And now we have set up the idea of working groups that will be representative of every institution, and we have asked certain institutions to coordinate the processes. One on the Hope at Africa side, that is Stellenbosch University, and then the Hope International, that is Dalana, and so that we have a coordination point. And we hope in the next year, we told ourselves within the next 6 to 12 months, we must have a clearer plan going forward over the next years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. One or two more comments or questions from the audience? Yes, Professor Hatting, Dean of Arts.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Johan Hatting, Dean of the Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences. I have a very interesting question to pose to the people here dealing with the technology. And that is, yesterday morning, someone came to see me. He refers to himself as Jan Org, the last living bushman. And what he basically offered Stellenbosch University was a living archive. His knowledge of the indigenous plants, animals, cultural practices that made the Bushmen survive for so many millennia in this part of the country. And then he asked us to collect that archive, to curate it, to make it available to everyone. in such a manner that they as individuals are protected. They would like to go back, him and his wife, to the Kalahari and said that, okay, we can study our archives maybe here in Stellenbosch. And then his wife asked, can we then have a remote classroom broadcasting from the Kalahari, a place called Witgraai, I sitting on my dune, and you guys here or in Sweden or Australia or wherever asking us questions, because we are the professors and the knowledge bearers of our culture and our indigenous knowledge. So my question is to people in technology, can we also have peripheral classrooms broadcasting from a dune in the middle of the Kalahari Desert to us? Yeah, thank you very much.
I have not tested from the dune, that specific dune, but in principle it is possible. I mean, what you've seen here this afternoon is in principle what we're doing. This could be anywhere in the world. And that local knowledge, I think that's what the global classroom is all about, that local knowledge broadcasting from that dune globally to the rest of the world, making that knowledge global is what it's all about. So absolutely. In principle, it's possible. I'm looking to Mr. Helmi Dreyer, our Senior Director, Information Technology. If we can get a 3G cell phone sign there, I think this technology will be able to do it. Helmi's got a comment.
Johan, thank you very much for that question. As you know, I'm an optimist, so the obvious question will answer would be yes. But just to emphasize, the technology that we're using here today is very much based on the Google technology. And we went out on tender a while back to determine what will the pricing be to create lecture capturing systems, etc. And in the process, we realized that we've got friends and people like Google which can visualize and imagine what the opportunities are. And when I told them about the Hope International and Hope Africa project, they were so excited that they almost committed unlimited funding behind this project. So in that sense, we've got good partners, and I think to that extent, I think I'm extremely excited of what the opportunities are. I'm not sure whether you grabbed the concept here this afternoon. Everything that we've said here today, even the meals that you've been taking, will be on YouTube this evening. So I hope you use your best eating techniques. This will be available tonight on YouTube. I'm not sure if the camera is on, but I think as we speak, it is on YouTube.
I was going to say it's already on YouTube. You can see at the bottom here, it's live. And there's one viewer already. So I suspect it might be somebody from the press, Martin, because we didn't distribute this link too widely yet, but we did distribute it to the press. So we suspect it's one person joining in from Pretoria. But of course, this will be archived, as you said, and it will be there this evening as a YouTube broadcast. So
maybe I'm going to finish off the question Johan has, to what extent will this also be possible from the desert or wherever else? As we speak, there's a 7-second delay for what we speak here, and that will eventually be available on YouTube. So that we call is almost a live session, but as soon as that time period extends beyond an hour or 2 hours, then we start calling it an asynchronous session. And I think what we're saying is that in terms of the archive, yes, it can be accumulated, and even if it's transmitted in the day thereafter, so we can, even if we need to attach it to a bird or something like this, to get it here. And just the capabilities that we've got in our telematic center, and that we are now sharing that knowledge with all the other universities. We've been in contact with the University of Botswana this morning, and it was unbelievable how quickly we could synchronize the mind with Professor Farker's technical department on that side. So compliments for your division in terms of being able to capture it. But yes, as I said, I'm an optimist. I'm extremely excited about the bridges which we can build between the universities. And within the next 6 months, we will try and get in contact with each of those universities to build that bridge even further.
thanks, Helmi. Any other burning questions? Maybe one more question. Ellen, yes.
Yes, thank you very much. It's not a question, just a comment, and I'd like to comment said in the question from Professor Hutton, and that is, I just wish that when we take this forward, that we definitely also look at the whole issue around the content. And what Professor Hutton, the example that you've given in terms of archiving, curating, you know, this kind of information, because the technology is fine, we can make the connections, but in the end of the day, it is the content, and that we have to make sure that that's accessible. And also it's fine, it can be YouTube today, but 10 years, 20 years, you know, you go, you search, the link is no longer there. So preservation, and then documenting and curating this information, and at the end of the day, the use and the benefit for the students and the researchers from our institutions. So my appeal would be that we please make sure that we involve also the libraries of the institutions.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that's the ideal person to talk about curation and information. So thank you very much, Ellen, for that contribution. One last question, comment. If there are no other burning questions or comments, I'm just going to hand over to Professor Botman for a short thank you.
Colleagues, I just want to say thank you very much for the many people who you don't even know and realize are aware of changes taking place in higher education, watching it, studying it, and then deciding to know more about it and then take it forward in different ways. And I am very grateful also for the leadership of Dalana, and thank you very much, Marita, for inviting me there to get an understanding of this, the way the Swedes would deal with it and the questions that they would ask, and that was a great opportunity for me. And I always say that it is the right thing to start with the Swedes. And people who don't understand that, I tell them go to Robben Island. When you get there, the first question the prisoners ask, are there any Swedes in the group? And then they ask why. The Americans ask, why do you want to know? And they say, because the Swedes were the first to pay for my child who had to go to school when I was in prison. And this is the background, and it's great that we have this starting point with Hope International, and we have to build and go forward and take it into the future. And there's a lot that we can do together, and we have many people who made many sacrifices in Sweden and in South Africa, and it's worth our while to ask the difficult questions about what is it that they would want us to do to create a better environment, a better world, a better future for next generations. Also, I'd like to say thank you very much to the African partners. Thank you, Professor Farker, for your words here today, and thank you for all those who have worked hard to try and make the time and set the time aside to begin to ask the questions of the next steps. We have come out of bilateral relationships. We have learned that there is a next level of relationships, and that could be in a partnership model that is different, in which we are all equal, that the one is not doing something for the other, and that it's not just about reciprocity, but about bringing together the knowledge base of a continent, the knowledge base of continents together, and then see how we take it forward. We know that at some point, the Hope at Africa and the Hope International will become one. But we have, in the discussion today, the directors of Hope at Africa decided that we should continue still first as a small group, thinking through all the African questions and the difficulties and seeking the solutions until we're sure that we have the right group of universities together, until we're sure that we have also the right mix and diversity of thought together on this continent, and then take it forward into a next step. When we think about the next 12 months will help us understand what would be the real big next steps going forward. But thank you very much to everyone. Thank you for the deans of Stellenbosch University and the vice deans, and all those who joined us here today. Also, Leopold, thank you for joining us as our bedrijfshoof. It is wonderful to have you here and to have you exposed to these people, talk to them, ask the questions that you have. And I'm sure you will see that they have looked into the things that you have been doing, and they felt we should do this together. Thank you very much.
Here we go. Thank you so much for all the contributions this afternoon and for your participation. And now it's my honor to announce that lunch will be served and have a wonderful conversation around the table. Thank you very much.
Thank you.